Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a monumental, almost IMAX-scale journey through the complete history of NASA. We are going to explore the ultimate story of human exploration, looking at the incredible evolution of space travel from its incredibly tense beginnings right up to our most ambitious, sci-fi-adjacent future concepts. If you've ever looked up at the night sky and wondered how we actually managed to touch the stars, well, you are in the exact right place. So let's dive right in. The untold story of humanity's greatest space agency. Now that sounds like the tagline to an epic Hollywood cinematic masterpiece, right? But it's entirely real. This narrative is absolutely packed with dramatic tension, unimaginable bravery, and mind-blowing scientific accuracy. It's the story of how humanity pushed the absolute limits of engineering and courage just to step off our homeworld and into the immense, sparkling expanse of the Milky Way. But before NASA even existed, space was a battleground of ideologies. Picture America in the 1950s. It was defined by Cold War paranoia, just this really tense era of military bases and nuclear anxiety. And then, that tension was completely shattered by the shocking launch of the Soviet Sputnik 1 in 1957. Knowing a human-made object was suddenly orbiting the globe? Wow! It was a massive wake-up call that completely shifted the trajectory of modern history and literally kicked off the space race in a matter of seconds. So that Sputnik shock in 1957, it built incredible, rapid momentum. Just a single year later, in 1958, President Dwight D. Eisenhower officially signs NASA into existence. From there, the pace of innovation was just blistering. Project Mercury kicks into gear by 1962, putting the very first American astronauts into orbit, which is then followed rapidly by the Gemini program in 1965. And Gemini was absolutely crucial. It's where humanity mastered spacewalks and docking procedures. All those highly technical, incredibly dangerous steps desperately needed before anyone could even dream of a moon mission. Part 1. Conquering the Moon, the Apollo Climax. And that brings us to Apollo 11, the ultimate mission. The sheer scale of this endeavor was just staggering. We're talking massive engines, thousands of dedicated engineers, and a deeply emotional, hopeful atmosphere across the entire country. The deafening, bone-rattling roar of the Saturn V engines igniting was way more than just a feat of engineering. It was this profound human triumph. Years of intense simulations and unyielding determination, all culminating in this one flawless, history-making flight into deep space. The actual journey of Apollo 11 unfolded in 4 highly iconic steps. First, you have that explosive Saturn V launch, literally tearing through Earth's atmosphere. Next comes the eerie, quiet isolation of the deep space journey. That built up to the emotional peak of the entire era. Neil Armstrong descending the ladder to press that first historic footprint into the lunar dust. And finally, Step 4 brought us perhaps the most poetic, visually stunning moment of all, capturing that awe-inspiring Earthrise over the barren lunar horizon. That single perspective forever changed how we view our fragile little place in the universe. Just one footprint. But man, that singular footprint on the moon set a legacy that rippled through the entirety of the Apollo program. It was only the first step. The missions that followed pushed the boundaries even further. We had astronauts driving lunar rovers across an alien landscape, conducting complex scientific experiments, and collecting invaluable moon rocks that, amazingly enough, scientists are still studying to this very day. It definitively proved that humans could actively explore another celestial body. Part 2. Living in Orbit, Skylab to ISS. So reaching the moon was a sprint, but the next challenge was definitely a marathon. Actually learning to live among the stars. Enter Skylab, America's very first space station. It completely paved the way for long-term orbital scientific research in a zero-gravity environment. For the first time ever, astronauts were moving into and living in space. Skylab gathered unprecedented solar data and provided continuous, hyper-detailed views of Earth, which fundamentally changed our understanding of our own planet's atmospheric health. Next up came the iconic Space Shuttle fleet: Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour. And the shuttle era completely revolutionized how we operated in orbit. Think of them as massive space planes with huge cargo bays that turned space into a place of active, ongoing construction. They enabled these daring spacewalks to repair satellites, and of course, famously facilitated the deployment of the Hubble Space Telescope. They completely changed the scope of what was possible in low Earth orbit. Now, during this era, we saw a profound evolution in human behavior in space. Remember how the space race originated entirely from fraught national military tension and Cold War anxieties? Well, it eventually evolved into the International Space Station, which is a massive beacon of peaceful global cooperation. Today, astronauts from nations all over the world float together, working side by side in a completely unified environment. It's really a stunning testament to how shared scientific exploration can genuinely unite us. Part 3. Unveiling the Universe, Hubble and Webb. Billions. That is the sheer volume of stars, ancient galaxies, and black holes that were suddenly unveiled to us when the Hubble Space Telescope first unfolded its optics in orbit. Before Hubble, our view of the universe was kind of blurry, obscured by Earth's atmosphere. But once it opened its eyes, the magnificent, high-definition, almost photorealistic reality of the cosmos was revealed. These robotic eyes in the sky literally rewrote our astrophysics textbooks, showing us a universe far more complex than we ever imagined. And now, a million miles away in deep space sits the James Webb Space Telescope with its iconic, glowing golden mirrors. Webb actually sees in infrared, which means it can peer straight through thick clouds of cosmic dust. It is out there right now, capturing the mind-blowing, highly detailed birth of stars and the very earliest galaxies forming just after the Big Bang. It is the ultimate tool for deep universe revelation, allowing us to literally look back in time. Part 4. Return to the stars, Mars, and beyond. After decades of looking deep into the cosmos, NASA is also heavily focused on our immediate planetary neighbor, Mars. The red planet has hosted a legendary lineage of robotic explorers. We're talking the rovers Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and Perseverance. Oh, and we definitely can't forget the Ingenuity helicopter, the very first aircraft to ever achieve powered flight on another world. These robotic avatars have braved massive Martian dust storms just to send incredibly detailed panoramic landscapes and vital geological data back to modern mission control. And this ongoing journey elegantly bridges our past and our incredibly ambitious future. The Apollo era gave us the legendary Saturn V and invaluable lunar rocks, right? Well, today, that groundwork has evolved into the modern Artemis era. Artemis utilizes the massive new space launch system and the Orion spacecraft. But here is the kicker. This time, we aren't just visiting for a few days. The goal includes a lunar gateway and permanent moon-based concepts. We are going back to the moon to stay. And honestly, the moon is just the proving ground. The absolute pinnacle of NASA's future exploration goals is establishing a permanent human colony on Mars. This vision blends advanced robotics with sleek, highly advanced concept spacecraft to transport astronauts millions of miles from Earth. It's that amazing point where sheer scientific optimism meets absolute engineering prowess, turning what was once pure science fiction into a tangible, actionable roadmap for humanity's future. So we now have global scientific cooperation, AI-driven planetary defense systems keeping Earth safe from asteroids, and vital climate satellites monitoring our homeworld's health. But as we look to these future colonies, and as the Voyager spacecraft quietly travels further and further out into the dark of interstellar space, we really have to stop and ask, what is NASA's ultimate legacy? How will this magnificent, ongoing journey continue to unite humanity down here on Earth? NASA, exploring the unknown, inspiring the future. This motto perfectly encapsulates an unending drive to discover and to constantly push the boundaries of what is possible. It leaves us with a profound, almost emotional sense of awe. With the entire cosmos stretching out before us in an epic composition of stars, we have to ask, what unknown frontier will humanity conquer next? And who will be the ones to take us there? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.